All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm ready to take my weaving off is I'm going to make sure I push it down to approximately like 2 inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, just make sure it gets pushed up approximately 2 inches, okay? Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and count the number of warp strings that I have on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if I end in an even number, then, and this obviously is an even number, then I'm going to cut the first 2 strings and I'm going to tie them in a knot, and I'm going to tie them once, and then I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to make a little loop and put the, like I'm tying a basic knot, okay? So that way it won't come undone. If I ended with an odd number of strings, then I would cut 3, and I would take 2 strings in one hand, 1 string in the other, and tie them the same way, pretending I just had 2 in my hands instead of 3, okay? Then I'm going to do the same exact thing all the way across. So I'm going to do everything in pairs. Cut 2, tie them twice. And one thing you want to make sure of when you're cutting is that when you cut the strings, you want to make sure that you cut them as close up to the top of the board as possible, because if you cut them close to the yarn, then you're not going to leave yourself enough room to get your fingers on those 2 little strings to tie them together, okay? So you want to make sure you have enough room to tie. So I'm going to do that same thing all the way across. Cut 2, tie 2, tie them 2 times, okay? Then I will do the exact same thing on the opposite side as well. But now it'll actually lift up from the board. So I'm going to switch it around and hold it kind of tight so the strings are tight, so that I can cut and tie on the opposite side. All right, so at this time you can see that the weaving is completely off the board. So it's removed from the board altogether on both top and bottom. So then the next step would be to look at all of my side strings, okay? And if I have, if there are side strings for this person, she has some side strings that are like right at a starting and ending point in the same row. So if she wanted to, she could actually tie those 2 together just for like extra secure, right? I will say that most of mine are just cut, they are not tied on my examples in class. So a lot of you aren't going to have strings that you are even side by side for you to tie knots. So in that case, you literally are just going up and cutting the strings right up to the sides of the weaving, okay? And so we don't want those to really be showing, okay? So I'm going to go through and clean up both sides, left and right, okay? And then I'm going to decide either I'm going to trim these a little bit or leave them longer, but I don't want to trim them too close to the knot, otherwise they can unravel. I'm also going to trim any strings like up in the middle too, so that these aren't hanging off. Once all of the weaving is cleaned up, then I'm going to take a piece of masking tape, and I'd like you to tape your, put your name and hour with a large Sharpie marker on the masking tape and stick it to the back side of your weaving. It should easily be taken off when you get it returned, so don't just slam it on. Just place it on gently and you should be able to take it right off, okay? Now, once I'm ready to turn in the weaving, so my weaving at this point is ready to turn in, then I'm going to take care of leftover stuff on the board. So you can see this person has some leftover strings on the board that are between the teeth, so I'm going to remove those, okay? I'm going to clean up those on both front and back or top and bottom side, okay? If there's any tape on the board at all, like where my name was or the starting and ending warp strings, I'm gonna remove that as well. And then my board can go right back in the bag, and the board and your bag are gonna go right back into your regular storage bin where we've been storing them the entire quarter. And that's it.